Honourable Member for Gippsland.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I rise to speak in support of the motion and commend the member for New England for raising this issue, and also commend other members for their contributions to the debate so far. I think the maturity of the debate reflects very positively on the House. I note also in the chamber one of the great champions of regional students in the member for Cowper, but also the member for Braddon, who I read his speech on the youth allowance issue very closely, and congratulate him on his contribution in that regard. I think it does point out today that there are champions on both sides of the House when it comes to education, and I congratulate the independents as well in that regard. So that's why I've been disappointed, Deputy Speaker, that in the last couple of months the debate over student income support in relation to youth allowance has descended somewhat into some fairly vitriolic attacks, which were typified a bit today by the Minister for Education's approach. I think the chamber is above that, in the sense that I believe there's a great deal of support on both sides of the House for measures to improve the opportunities of education for students, particularly from rural and regional areas. And I don't deny for a second the previous government could have done more. I don't deny that for a second, Deputy Speaker. But it's also ridiculous to suggest that any government would do nothing in relation to education, and this is a shared responsibility between our students, our parents, our teachers and state and federal governments. So I think the motion put before the House today has provided an opportunity for some cooler heads to prevail, and I congratulate the member in that regard. I think quite clearly, Deputy Speaker, for us who represent our regional electorates, we're very much aware that the parents, the students, the teachers are very keen for us to come here and advocate on behalf of our communities to get the best possible opportunity for our students to actually do everything we can to make sure they get a fair go. Because of every measure that we point to, and the member for Lyne referred to a few in his electorate and certainly in the Gippsland electorate, the education retention rates are appalling. The Year 12 education retention rates. And I'm not going to stand here and blame state governments or previous governments or whatever. It's a simple fact of life that we need to do better, and it shouldn't be this hard to get a fair go for country students. So I accept that part of the problem is economic. There's no question part of the problem is the economic barriers, but also, as been touched on by other speakers, the aspirational barrier is a real concern for us in rural and regional areas. I often, like I assume many other members, speak to students in schools right across the electorate of Gippsland, and I tell them that in terms of the economic barriers, in terms of student income support, well, I'll come to Parliament and do my best from that regard. But in terms of the aspirational barrier, they've got to be the ones who look within themselves and decide how they're going to achieve the absolute best in terms of their future achievements in life, whether it be as a bobcat driver, just be the best bobcat driver in Gippsland. Whether it's going to be as a builder, well, then go and do your apprenticeship, and there's nothing wrong with that decision either. But if you want to aspire to go to university, then it's up to us to try and help you with those economic barriers. And I think from a social justice perspective, it's a question of equality, and I think we appreciate that on both sides of the House. And for those who are a bit more hard-nosed, the economic-minded ones perhaps in the House, there's also a question of productivity for us. Helping children from rural and regional areas achieve their full potential gives us the skills we need for future generations. And there's no question that the skill-based shortage we face in rural and regional Australia is best addressed by bringing up our own children and giving them the opportunity to achieve their full potential and achieve their training in trades or whatever it might be, or in university-style qualifications. I throw into the debate, Deputy Speaker, in the limited time I have available, is I'm not sure how much longer Australia can continue to import skilled professionals from overseas. I think the social licence, for example, for taking medical professionals from less privileged countries than ours is just about worn out. Those doctors are actually needed in their home countries. And I'm not sure that Australia can continue to do that without doing everything in its power to actually train our own doctors and provide our young people in rural areas with every opportunity to fill the huge gap in rural and regional health provision. So I make those opening comments, and getting very close to making my closing comments. But and then the limited time that is available to me, I'm sure it's a topic that will come before the House in the very near future. Just in the limited time that is available, I refer to the student income support and the lecture we've been receiving in terms of the debate as regards to what is a fair go for country students looking forward. There's been much made now of the amendments which were passed in the Senate, and I acknowledge that members on the Liberal and National Party, also the Greens, and I think Family First supported those amendments. That would suggest to me that the Minister must realise that there's actually a bit of a problem with the retrospective nature of the changes she's proposing, and that is why there is such a frustration within Parliament and the broader community. I urge the Minister to sit down with those who have their concerns in a mature way and see if we can work through this, because right now we have students finishing their VCE or HSC
The member's
exams
time
and they need
has
certainty.
expired.